DJ and PK, we're joined now by Cole Bagley, covering the Utah Hockey Club for The Zone. His appearance brought to you by Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. Cole, good morning.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. It is officially over. Vancouver has eliminated the Utah Hockey Club from the playoffs with 4 games to go. So while those 4 games will entertain fans and have fun with us, and we'll see if the team can rack up a few more points, attention does turn to the summer. If you were prioritizing what they need, how would you prioritize what they need to take the next step?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you gotta extend Logan Cooley long term. He's eligible for that longer extension, similar to what they did with Dylan Guenther, last fall. And so, I think that's going to be the first thing on the to-do list, is to lock him up long term. A lot of teams will kind of do bridge contracts, get guys for 3 or 4 seasons. But, in my mind, and I'm sure in the mind of the front office, they're looking more towards a similar contract with, that they signed Guenther to, which was about 8 years. So that's the first thing they got to do. And then after that, they've got a lot of money to spend, roughly $22 million in cap space to go and get, another legitimate forward, somebody that can help really push this team or propel them, towards really, making a legitimate push for the playoffs. I think that'll be the expectation into year 2. And I think it needs to be a forward. There's obviously some big names, some guys that can put points on the board. And, they really need to take a swing at each of those individuals and potentially, lock up a second line center. I think that would really help this team. Defensively on the blue line, they're set and they have a lot of depth, especially, with some of their prospects, guys like Maverick Lamoureux and Dmitry Simashev, that they can call upon when needed. So, it's for me, lock down Logan Cooley long term and then go and find, some offensive reinforcements that can really put this team over the top and get them into the playoffs.
With this season just about over, and it's the first season obviously in Utah, I think we can grade it as very successful in terms of the record compared to what it's been in recent seasons. You can see the progression. So even though there's a level of disappointment of not making the postseason, I don't think it takes away from anything that they've been able to do this season and have the progression. Now, they do those things that you're speaking of over the summer. If we're sitting here next year at this time and they're not in the playoffs, doesn't it take on a different level of how we would grade them?
Oh, absolutely. Next year will be year 5 of the rebuild. And I think, if that progression stops or comes to a halt, that's when, the team needs to kind of reflect and figure out, what direction they're headed and what's going wrong. But, as you mentioned, the progression has been visible. Over the last 4 years, they've taken a step forward in terms of, points acquired. I think from the beginning of the reset to now, they've picked up about 30 to 40 points, which is, that's what you want to see. When you hit that reset button, every year's about progression as you acquire assets, as you, make draft selections, and as you, hit the trade market. And then now they are stepping into that next phase of, okay, we've had our draft picks hit. We've acquired some guys via trade. Now we've got some money to go out and spend. Let's bring in some free agents that can really take us to that next level. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it's playoffs or bust next season. That's just the gradual progression of the way this thing goes. Like you said, this year, very successful, regardless, despite the fact that they didn't make the playoffs. But, it just continues. It's only up from here, and so expectations will rise moving forward.
They're on 84 points right now. That's 7 better than last year, which was 7 better than the year before, and 13 for that. This could be their best record, certainly since 2019 and maybe since 2014. They could get to 90 points for the first time in, it seems unbelievable, 2012. So yeah. That's a huge step forward. But I do look at the West, and it's stacked, and I'm wondering about, they seem to get about 10 points better every year. You know, one year it's 13 and one year it's 7. But they've been averaging about 10 points a year. If they get to 95 next year, the West is good. That's not quite a slam dunk to get in. So, to your point, they need the young guys to improve, and they have to make that critical acquisition because otherwise they could fall short of that playoff goal. I mean, the progress has been great, but doesn't the progress get harder the better you get?
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. I mean, if you look at the top of the West right now, Winnipeg has 110 points. Dallas is at 106. Colorado's at 100. Vegas is at 103. Those teams aren't going anywhere. Winnipeg has, taken a step towards being, the top team in the NHL. Dallas is a very good team, and they got better at the trade deadline by adding a, multi-all-star in Mikko Rantanen. Colorado has arguably the best player in hockey, Nathan McKinnon, and arguably the best defenseman. And Vegas is a very, very good team with, again, one of the best players in the National Hockey League in Jack Eichel. So, those teams are not going anywhere, which only really leaves, 3 other spots. And unfortunately for Utah, the Central Division is arguably the best division in the NHL. Top to bottom, it's really competitive. And they, currently the 3 teams in the Central Division that have, clinched a playoff spot, they're the, 3 of the best teams in the NHL. So, it definitely gets more difficult. But, I think, as they move forward, they are also only going to get better. Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley could potentially be, superstars. Clayton Keller's playing the best hockey of his career. Mikhail Sergachev is playing the best hockey of his career. And the deep pool of prospects that they have coming up are very, very good talent that will fill some of the gaps where Utah is lacking. And then, as I mentioned, the amount of money that they have to spend, they should be able to go and get a guy that, is going to add to that arsenal, a guy that hopefully is producing 50, 60, 70 plus points a season, which, I think would make them that more competitive. I mean, as of right now, if you look at the season as a whole, they're only 3 or 4 games, behind making that wild card spot, and if they had some injuries, go their way, or some of those overtime losses more so go their way, this team would have made it this year. And so, it's competitive. But luckily, those wild card spots are probably going to stay in that same realm of somewhere between 90 and 100 points. And, this team wasn't far away from accomplishing that this year. And I think if they can, make the correct adjustments, they're going to be able to clinch one of those a season from now.
What's this auction that they got coming up?
The jersey auction?
Yeah, what's all that about? Sounds like it'd be something that fans might be interested in.
Yeah, so tonight, first of all, they're basically having a big celebration of the fans, just to kind of show their appreciation, for the support that they received this year. There'll be a buy one, get one 50% off on all team store merchandise, limited edition inaugural season commemorative items, free inaugural patches, and then, a bunch of in-arena giveaways. And then, of course, to answer your question, what they're doing is they're holding an online auction involving game-worn autographed jerseys from this season. So the auction will run April 10th through the 15th. 100% of the proceeds will go to the SCG Foundation. I believe the auctions begin at $500 per jersey. And then fans can text UHC jerseys to 76278 to register and receive updates. So just a really cool thing, to raise some money, give it to charity and, give fans the opportunity to own, a inaugural season jersey, which, those things will be changing, once the branding, is figured out. So, pretty cool, something that is very special and unique.
Before they put a mammoth on the shirt, right? On the sweater.
Yeah, correct.
Is there any doubt in your mind that's what's about to happen?
Not really. I think, based off the fan reactions, the people that I talked to, some of the surveys, not the team surveys, but some of the surveys that I saw, and I think just the general sense around the name, I think Mammoth was the favorite. I'd be surprised if it didn't receive the most votes, but I think, similar to Yeti, everything that you got to do, you got to clear it through the trademarking office, right? You got to make sure that it's approved and that it's available. Not to say that it's not, but if there's any issues with that, that's where I think the problem would come from, is more so that trademark office. It seems that everything these days, has a trademark, and you got to figure that out. So I'm going to leave that to the lawyers and the legality side to figure that out. But I do think Mammoth was the favorite.
Did you tour the practice facility that they had people go through the other day?
Yes, I did. What'd
you think?
Oh, it's incredible. It's probably going to be one of the biggest practice facilities in the National Hockey League. I asked some of the guys, handful of them, hey, where does this rank amongst the NHL? And most of them said top 5. I think Clayton Keller even said potentially top 3. But it's really cool for several reasons. It's going to be kind of the focal point of hockey, here in the Wasatch Front. And, a lot of people think, the Delta Center is the home of the Utah Hockey Club. No, it's more this practice facility will be the home. This is where guys are going to spend, countless hours preparing themselves, recovering, and helping them, compete to the highest level. Obviously, they play their games at Delta Center, but like I said, there's just way more time spent at the practice facility. And then I think what's awesome to it is the accessibility that fans are going to have to it. They're not only are they going to be able to come and watch these guys practice, but, as Ryan Smith said, when the boys are off the ice, the youth, and amateur hockey is going to jump on the ice. There will be fan area. There will be a pro shop, a team shop, rentals, opportunities to hold birthday parties and, events and just really cool things. And then the facility itself, it's just bare bones right now, but we got to see, where things are going to be built, the gym and the players lounge and the recovery pools and all that stuff. It's going to be very, very nice. And it's exciting that it'll be done, this fall for, the players that'll be ready for next season. And then it'll be open to the public, I think by about Christmas time. So going to be just a incredible facility, access to, that will elevate not only the team, but, the progression of hockey here in the state of Utah.
That progression, you go back to the early to mid-'90s, there weren't many rinks and they were packed. And there was a building boom around the 2002 Olympics leading up to it. There were a lot of new facilities, and they quickly filled up. Now Ryan Smith has said, he'll put $500,000 towards, different facilities in different cities and counties. How many of these municipalities do you think are going to take him up on him? What kind of building boom would there be? And from my limited knowledge, it seems like, at least initially, I don't know about 20 rinks if they get to that, but it seems like the next 5 or 10 rinks will be packed for sure, just off of word of mouth and discussion I hear. There seems to be a lot of interest in, are these really going to go up? Do you think they're going to go up, and how many do you think would have to be built before they wouldn't be packed?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, similar to you, I've had conversations and I've seen some of the responses, and I think some of these municipalities and other, groups are going to take Ryan up on this. They're going to, hockey's growing, interest in the sport is growing. I think it makes a lot of sense. There's a need for it, is not only because of the team, but I think, just like you mentioned, these facilities are jam packed all the time. And so, yes, I do expect there to be more facilities built. I don't know. The number's tough because, I think hockey belongs in Utah. That's been proven, I think, over the last, 18 months. the way that, fans have just embraced this team. More kids are playing hockey. I myself, I participate in pickup games once a week, and those are being jam-packed. Those are filling up really, really fast. And so there's a need for it. There's a passion for it. It's growing. These facilities are definitely going to be built. And I don't know. I mean, it might take, 10 or more facilities to reach a point where it's not, overwhelming. But I don't think that's a bad problem, in my opinion. Obviously, the growth of the game is very important, very critical. And I would love for them to build 20 facilities and, to see those things jam-packed with kids falling in love with the game and rinks being utilized.
Cole Bagley joined us here on 97.5 The Zone. 4 games left. Do you think they're going to get to 90 points? Can they win 3 of the last 4?
They can. They certainly can with, I believe they've played Nashville twice. Nashville has really struggled this season. That's not a particularly good hockey team that was eliminated, I think about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So, they're not, really pushing to do much of anything. I think Utah is still of the mindset that they want to, take this momentum that they've built this season into next year. And so, it's certainly possible. I think the team is pushing for that. The 2 games are going to be difficult. They have to play the Stars again, which that's one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. It's, they have a deep arsenal of talent, especially offensive talent. And then they got to play the St. Louis Blues, who are fighting to maintain that top wild card spot, because I'm sure that they do not want to face the Winnipeg Jets in the first round. I'm sure they would rather that Minnesota or Calgary would play them. So it's going to be tough over the last 4. Is it possible? Yes, and we'll see how they respond.
Cole, as always, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Cole Bagley, completely immersed in the Utah Hockey Club, our Zone Insider. DJ and PK, when we come back, everything you missed in this show and an update on the Masters leaderboard early on in round 1. That's next. Stay with us. 9 a.m. Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. 801-899-7600 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. PK, the Masters is underway, but it doesn't start until the back 9 on Sunday. The early leader, well, we've got a golfer I don't know much about. You know much about Aaron Rai making his Masters debut? Best finish in a major?
I don't think he's played in the Masters before.
Yeah, his best finish in a major is tied for 19th, which he did in the 2021 Open at Royal St. George and the 2024 U.S. Open at Pinehurst, and he is 4 under with birdies at 2 and 3 and 7 and 8.
Way to go!
He's got it going on early on.
The best.
He's the best. You wish you drafted him now?
No.
Suddenly realizing the error of your ways?
No.
Or chalk it up to it's early in a major championship and these things happen. Spieth is out of the gate with a birdie at 1, a birdie at 3, and a bogey at 4. So, Jordan Spieth, can you get back to your greatness?
What's he, a
Tony
horse?
Yes. Tony Finau is birdie number 2 and bogey number 3, so he's even parred through 3. So we'll have updates throughout the day. Brian Taylor, Bob Casper will be joining all the shows throughout the day, keeping you update on the opening round at the Masters throughout the day here on The Zone. You got any storylines you're looking at early, or just wait to see who goes low and maybe more importantly, wait to see who shoots a 78 and wrecks themselves right out of the gate?
Well, I'll see what happens later in the day. I mean, I don't get caught up in scores right now. It's ridiculous.
Too early.
It is, yeah.
This morning we spent a little time talking about the Jazz win. If they're going to win, well, number one, they're not going to impact their Cooper Flag odds. Those are pretty much set. The bottom three teams have the exact same odds for pick 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the Jazz are there. So they did get a little positivity for the draft picks, and it was the guys who were drafted in the last 2 years who were doing the work down the stretch. Filipowski, obviously, with 30 points and 18 boards and 5 assists and 3 steals and a block. That guy, he had a night. And Keontae George with 2 big threes in overtime. And Sensabaugh hit some big shots as well. So as long as it's those guys, well, you can. I would think most Jazz fans can live with wins that are built on the shoulders of those guys.
It's one win. It changes nothing. I mean, I'm not even worried about it. I'm more excited about the fact. If they would have lost the game, I would have been just as excited for what Flipper did. The fact that they won, good for them, and they get to feel good about themselves, fine. That's what Hardy was talking about in the latest update, so I understand that. But it's the fact that they had a bunch of young dudes play quality minutes and get quality production. That the final score doesn't whoop-de-doo. I don't really care about that. It doesn't change anything. It's the guys playing well that can provide some assistance to help win down the line. I don't know that any of these guys who played well, you're going to be able to build quality title-contending teams on the strength of them and them alone, but they can help you win games. That's what's most important.
Whether it's Sean Livingston with the Warriors or Michael Coop with the Koopa Loop back in the day, there have always been role players who played important roles on championship teams.
Yes.
How do you find those guys? Well,
right.
You have 6 draft picks in 2 years. Hopefully you found at least a couple of those guys.
Well, they did before when they were going to the finals. You know, you drafted 2 stars, you made a great trade, and then you augmented your roster with some other acquisitions and some other draft picks. I mean, we all know how to do it. It's just not that it's easy to do, but we know the formulas to get it done.
Jazz get the win. Luka Doncic returns to Dallas and has an awesome game, 45 points as the Mavs beat the Lakers 112-97. We will never really fully understand that trade, will we? Unless the conspiracy theorists in Dallas are right and they're tearing down the trade and trying to empty the place out and find an excuse to move to Vegas, which seems to me to be quite the stretch. Seems more likely that more gambling will be legalized in Texas and make that team lucrative rather than that.
I don't know anything about that one.
The Spurs won at the buzzer. Harrison Barnes, well defended, but he had to let it go in a tie game. And what do you know? He made the buzzer-beating 3 against decent defensive pressure, and he beat his old team, the Warriors, 114-111. Golden State, anything could happen. They could be in a 4-5 series. They could be in a play-in. You would think an older team would want a little bit of rest, but the Warriors may not be afforded that luxury. We'll see how it shakes out the final week. You don't care, do you? You just don't care. Not even playing.
To get to the playoffs, I mean, so you have to play a game or two. Is that going to, if you don't, that's going to just make you that much better? I think all that stuff is overrated.
Yeah, I expect that they're going to, maybe they can win a series or 2, but then they'll get beat. I'd be surprised if they got through everybody in the West and made it to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, but you would say that about anybody. Are you telling me that there's a guaranteed, definite favorite to get to the NBA Finals out of the West? I haven't seen it.
Well, there's a favorite, but there isn't a lock. There is not a lock, no.
Well, there's a favorite every year. That's just the way odds work. But
well,
you put Golden State in everybody else's category.
No, I would give them a better chance than some of the playoff teams. I think they have a better chance than the Grizzlies or the Clippers.
Understood, but I'm talking about the contenders.
But probably not as good as the Thunder or the Lakers.
Yeah, I don't know
what to make of Denver after that coaching change.
17-3 since they got Jimmy Butler. Yeah. Don't tell me what their record is the whole season. That doesn't matter to me.
We talked about BYU. Why would any school pay a point guard $3.5 million or $3 million plus to get a transfer point guard, whatever the number is? We're not getting the money and we're not giving the money, so 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. Yeah, what does it matter to us?
Yeah, BYU. I mean,
they're
going. They're kind of going nuts over this thing. They won't be the highest bidder, and they can give it some of the collective. And then Joe Blow, who is a hardcore BYU fan and sits on the front row or down close to the floor, he makes up the difference. The problem here with BYU, as they send their folks out into social media world to try to deny that they're the highest bidders. Fine, you're not the highest bidders, but you're not going to convince the general public that BYU has a lot of money to pay these players. So rather than trying to constantly knock your head against the wall to prove we're different, please believe us, we're different. Just let it go, and because you're not going to change the perception that you have a lot of money to give players. And fine, you're playing by the rules, and those are the rules. So I say rejoice in it. Yeah. See, we do what's right on and off the field, so we're rich. Why do people want to deny that? They, in terms of the assets that they have available, the cash, whether it's from the booster or whether it's from the collective or the man in the moon, what difference does it make? The perception is that BYU has a lot of money to give players. And so with that, you're getting just about everybody and his dog to be, well, at least got to consider what's going on at BYU. Sure, you got the number 1 or 2 recruit coming in, depending on the latest ranking. And who cares? Are you gonna tout, hey, we don't have the number 1 recruit. He's the second best recruit. So what? You still got a premier player. Well, it's the same thing. We're not going to be the highest bidder. Yeah, all right. So you're going to be the second highest bidder. Who cares? You're going to bring in the talent. You're going to win games and go to the NCAA tournament, and your school is going to get all sorts of publicity. Isn't that what you want? So quit fighting this perception, because it's a losing battle. And, yeah, you can send out texts to us here locally, oh, no, this is the truth. And then you can have your paid employees go on social media and say, oh, no, this is the truth. But it's falling on deaf ears. The only people who are going to believe it are the ones who already believed it before it even went out. So stop fighting it. Just revel in it. We got a lot of money. We're going to do things the right way. The right way has changed dramatically. And go put up Demon there. Run that stuff out there. He's talking about his faith in God increased at BYU. Isn't that what you want? Yeah, that's what you want. So it worked.
I would think that's exactly what they want. Yeah, that's exactly what they want. And it paid off.
Yeah. Be excited about it. Don't worry about, because you're not going to convince everybody. It's basically become a political issue here, right? And you got, well, whoever you voted for, that's the person that you support. And if you voted for the other guy, you support that guy too. And the two sides, you're not changing anybody's minds here. So you can send out texts to us all you want. It's not going to change anything. The perception in the country is that and in the world for that matter, is that BYU has a lot of money to pay its basketball players, whether it's through the collective or the booster. The bottom line is the cash. Now run your program the way Kevin Young is doing, and everybody's happy. You got nothing to apologize for. Let it go.
DJ PK, when we come back, your feedback next.
Put in the Eric Daniels thing, being hired by Utah.
You were shocked by that. You were stunned by that, weren't you?
Well, we've known for weeks.
No, you weren't. No,
I said on that they were going to hire somebody who had a famous last name back to the good times, and he got a little bit of a raise, so he's coming from Logan to Utah to be an assistant coach. Good for him.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, The Zone.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
DJ and PK, it is time. It is time for your feedback. PK, does anything blow up faster than stuff about BYU? Man, Ute and Cougars just going, and I have to say they're not out of control. They're just going, and those are two different things. The energy is fantastic. It really
I think
is.
BYU, as Kevin Young likes to say, BYU is a needle mover.
Yeah, right? So we got the church education. What's his title, Yak?
Commissioner.
Yeah. Saying that reiterating the principles about no church funding, no debt, engage in NIL competitively, never be the highest bidder, focus on mission coaching, and we have DB Pepper saying, pulling out the "you're not going to outbid us" quote, and Yak, valid question here by DB Pepper. Now Yak's in the middle of it catching strays, PK. It's not you and me. It's Yak.
Well, because he went to Twitter himself. I stay off
He
of Twitter
did.
as much as I possibly can.
Right?
I don't really see the point of that stuff. Trying to make your point on Twitter. It's
With
so
people
stupid.
who you aren't going to convince, and people
right.
who may just
So
be trying to get a reaction.
I shy away from that completely.
Jake, don't encourage them, Rob says. True Blue fan at Dodger Jazz Cougs. Gilbert saying never is the wrong word to use. Never say never to anything. True Blue fan wants to stay away from absolutes out there in the future. Things are changing too fast. Rob says, I get other fan bases aren't happy and have biases. I'd feel the same if things were reversed, but it's not hard. BYU has donors who are willing to pay whatever it takes, and that's awesome as a BYU fan. The athletic department still has final say on NIL, and they have limits.
Yeah, and Jay Drew has a story. He quotes a BYU administrator, Vorlink. I've never heard of the man, but he quotes him, "You're not going to outbid us is not the strategy of the university." So they're trying to walk it back.
Mm-hmm.
We're about other things. Somehow money is become equal and equates to being seedy and wrong.
Yeah, money represents kind of an intermediary to get us past bartering, just in case you and I want to trade something. We don't have goods to barter, but we both need something. So money's the intermediary. Money comes to represent how do you spend all your time, your work, and your effort. You get compensated for that, for your time, your work, and your effort in money, and then how you spend it, I guess, represents what you value. So I don't think it's necessarily seedy. I mean, I suppose it can be.
I don't think it's seedy
pretty
at
clear
all.
It could be. Depending on how you
It could
spend it,
be-
I guess.
Well, yeah, and just like medication, depending on how
Yeah.
you use it. I mean,
Exactly.
on and on and on and
That's-
on.
that's
All
a good
things
thing.
in
Exactly.
moderation. We get it.
Yeah.
I fully support that. Absolutely, it's the right way to be. Don't be over the top in anything. Unless it's love, but maybe even that can be. I don't know. We're getting way out of my league here.
Way out of our league. That's way too deep. Philosopher
know.
Kinahan will be back from 4 till 7 with the meaning of life.
And I don't have any answers on that. I won't get into it. But anyway, now we got Jay quoting another guy that's trying to downplay it. I mean, it's almost right now it's like daily because the transfer portal is hot and heavy. So the folks at BYU are trying to downplay it and put up what Demon said. You know, he didn't talk about money. He said all the other stuff that's out there. And Travis Hansen I watched the show yesterday on BYU TV, and he's talking about what they do, right? And that, just put that. And then I would advise them, for what it's worth, just lay low on the money stuff, because you can get the message out here locally, but I don't know you can get the message nationally to change the perception.
Andrew, we'll give him the last word. BYU fans should just own it. If Utah was able to outbid everyone, I'd be proud of it, and I'd be shouting it out from the rooftops. We'll leave it right there for now. Jake and Ben will pick up the baton after the break right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.